Hello, this is Jeff Malone, the X is Silent, and I'm here with a review of the October 1st, 2011 episode of Saturday Night Live, hosted by Melissa McCarthy with musical guest Lady Antebellum. You may be wondering what's up with the getup I've got on here. Well, it's in homage to some of the outfits worn by the performers from this past episode. The jacket and t-shirt combo is in homage to the casual shirt and suit jacket combo that Jason Sudeikis sported as the host of the comments section, and the this Chewie picture of Chewbacca on a solid color background shirt is an homage to the Spock sweatshirt that Melissa McCarthy wore in the Hidden Valley product testing sketch, which might be the best piece of clothing I've ever seen in an SNL sketch. Certainly the one outfit that I've had the strongest reaction to, especially considering that it wasn't even part of the joke of the sketch. It was just kind of there. It was just this fun little extra detail. And really, this whole episode, the costume department seemed to be in overdrive. And a lot of memorable outfits. In the Lawrence Welk show, I had Melissa's buck teeth and her hulking biceps. In the monologue, Melissa and Kristen were in those spangly dress numbers. And then in the comments section, like, everyone's outfit was great. There was, Bill with the suit and shirt combo, and then Melissa with this haggard hair business, and she looked like a woodland dweller. And then Bill with his long hair and the camouflage jacket is the guy who comes out and punches people. So this episode is to be remembered for any one thing. It is the costumes. So on to the sketches. First up, the Lawrence Welk show, and again with this sketch, and I think the best thing for me to say about this sketch is my dad was going to bed on Saturday night, and he heard this. He heard some noise from the TV in another room, and he heard it was the Lawrence Welk show, and he thinks my mom is watching an actual Lawrence Welk show, a rerun, an actual Lawrence Welk show, and he's thinking, oh, come on, Sue, what are you watching? But, because, Fred, he does a pretty good impression of Lawrence Welk, at least as far as I know. And that was the most memorable part of this rendition of this sketch, because, Fred's Lawrence Welk was more animated than usual, got a little bit more into his comments, so I give this sketch a B. And then Melissa's monologue, I gotta give this monologue props for not just being one of those same old things, like, this is what I'm famous for, this is this movie I was recently in, and blah blah blah, or hey, I'm gonna do a song, and la-di-da. And here in this one, it's like, you wouldn't expect me to dance, but I'm going to, but not really. So, Kristen Wiig came out and joined her, and they moved around and other people danced, so whatever. I give it a B. And then now we had the commercial for Lil Pound Cake, the doll that is also an HPV vaccine, which had a good enough shock value on its own, good for a few laughs, good for water cooler conversation on Monday. Like, what if there were a doll that actually gave out an HPV vaccine? So I gave it a B. Good enough. And then the first sketch proper after the monologue featured Arlene, the office worker, who was obviously a spiritual relative of Megan, Melissa McCarthy's character from Bridesmaids. And in the rest of the show, just about every character she played was some variation on that character. And, Melissa gave it her all in this sketch, clearly. But just the whole over-the-top business, wasn't a whole lot to it. Melissa did add a bit of note of sympathy to Arlene by the end of it, so that was nice, but there wasn't too much depth to it, just enough to be good enough, so I gave it a B-. And then we had the digital short, Stomp, where, and this was somewhat amusing. What I always enjoy when just random noises, hitting, smacking your lips, or tapping a spoon on a glass, or whatever, and all those combinations of the noises going on in the room somehow turn into a song. So that was nice, but ultimately this was just random nonsense, and was one of the worst digital shorts of all time, which isn't terrible necessarily because digital shorts are held to such a high standard. But anyway, I gave this a B-, and that's being a bit generous. Then after that, we come to the first contender for Sketch of the Year, the comments section, and this is a phenomenon. Trolls who are out there posting negative comments on videos and articles on the internet. That's a phenomenon that was begging for the comedy world to take it on. And SNL took it on, and they did a great job. They portrayed it accurately. They did it justice. And these characters, XXX, Death by Farts, XXX, Ultimate Stud, Too Good to Be True, and The Truth, the things they've posted are, anyone who goes on YouTube or Rotten Tomatoes or any other website that allows its users to comment knows how frequently comments like these actually do appear. And my attitude towards them, towards the real comments, is to just be amused by them. Because they're so obviously not backed up by any logic, if any logic at all. So when Jason's character, as the host of this show, recited some of their more memorable comments, all you could do is crack up at something like, Obama is our first Nigerian president, or puppet boobs, or no more illegals, illegals suck, or dumbass old lady, haha, her hat fell off, kill yourself. And I didn't feel the need, as I don't in real life, for these people to be cruelly treated in return, at least not too cruelly, which was why I enjoyed Nassim as the old lady. I enjoyed her repost to XXX, Death by Farts XXX, in which she just said, well, I think you're rotten, and then just walked away. So, yeah, I give it an A. And then next up we had a promo for Rock's Way, where Chris Rock takes on some classic shows of the stage, and instead of really taking them on, he just uses them as a springboard for his stand-up. And Jay Pharoah does a great Chris Rock, as he does a bunch of great impressions, but they're just, it didn't make a whole lot of sense. I gave it a C+. Then Lady Antebellum performed their first song of the night, We Owned the Night, which is almost the title track of their current album, Own the Night. And then later in the show they did their current hit single, Just a Kiss. And I gave both performances a B initially. But now I'm thinking, there's not too much memorable about either the songs or the performances. And going into the show, I wasn't expecting much of Lady Antebellum. I'm not really a fan of theirs. But while I was watching, the sound and their voices, they've got a good sound. They've got a good backing band. They've got great voices. And it kind of won me over a bit. But there's just not very much depth to those songs, and I feel they have a bit of an immature view about love, or not necessarily immature, but not the opposite of profound is what I mean to say. But while they're performing, They do a good job. And then weekend updates. Seth was at his best I can ever remember him being. His best since probably since Amy left the show and Seth has been a solo anchor. The Obama dropping the mic joke was great. The one about the French, unprotected sex, I thought that just meant they didn't wear deodorant. That one I actually cracked up uncontrollably at. I can't remember the last time I did that during a Seth Meyers anchored weekend update. So, and then we had a couple of visits from correspondents we've seen before. We had Muammar Gaddafi's two best friends from growing up, played by Fred Armisen and Vanessa Bayer. It's a very shticky bit, a very shticky act, but it works. If you do shtick well, and Fred Armisen does, and Vanessa is proving to be a good partner of his. If you do shtick well, it works, and it worked here this time. So I gave that a B+. And then we had Keenan doing an impression of Tyler Perry. Really was just a comment on the state of Tyler Perry's career, and lots of great points were made. So I gave that a B+ as well. And Seth got a B+ from me for his jokes for this time. Then we had the Hidden Valley product testing bit. Here again, Melissa just held back not at all. She poured dressing on her face and wore that Spock sweatshirt and got in people's faces and wrung out a few laughs of a very thinly written sketch, enough to elevate it to B-. Her efforts could not help the next sketch, not quite as much. It was another one of those Turner Classic Movies essential sketches. This one was a retrospective on Lulu Diamonds, a Mae West type actress from the 30s or 40s, that era. And she was Lulu Diamonds, her claim to fame seemed to be that she was exactly like Mae West, except that she fell over a lot. And I think Melissa wrung about as many laughs as she could from falling down the stairs a bunch of times, but that was only, a few laughs. So I gave that sketch a C. And then the last sketch of the night, Andy Samberg comes on as a guy in a bar, comes up to Melissa. She's sitting at the bar, and he starts to brag about his lovemaking prowess. But before he can get into it, some of his past lovers come to file formal complaints to him about how terrible his lovemaking actually is. And there were a few memorable comments, and Andy's reaction, agreed, yes, you're right, all that, gave the sketch a nice rhythm, and solid enough way to close off the episode. So, yeah, the big story of the night, other than the costumes, was Melissa being as over the top as she can, giving it her all, putting as much effort into it as you possibly can as an SNL host. But really, her best performance of the night was her most understated, as the truth in the comments section. And that doesn't so much say that maybe Melissa should dial it back a bit, as much as it says that would just happen to be the best written sketch of the episode. The writing failed her a lot, and and I'm not going to declare a major problem with the writing, the state of the writing on SNL based on this one episode. Yeah, I guess in the past couple of years, the writing hasn't been at its strongest. But last week, with the Alec Baldwin episode, it was generally clever. So, here, they were just off. Maybe they had the crazy idea that they could have these really thinly defined sketches, and Melissa is someone who, as a performer who would go for it all, would be able to save it. But that can only work so often, and I think the idea of a performer being able to save a sketch may be overblown, and it's particularly overblown when the sketch is dead on arrival. There's, you're asking the performer to create the whole sketch right on the spot there, and that doesn't quite work out. If it's a really great performer, and Melissa is, and it might be nice to see her back to host again with better material, even with a sketch dead on arrival, she can wring something out of it. And that's what we happened. It's not a terrible episode, but a host that did her best with subpar material. So, yeah, I'll be back next week with a review of the episode hosted by Ben Stiller with musical guest Foster the People. Ben Stiller hosting for the first time since 1998. So that, although he did make a cameo appearance during Robert De Niro's episode last season. So, my written recaps are up on my blog, jmunney.wordpress.com. Check me out there in the meantime, and I will see you next week.